Thank you very much for joining us. To our very first story, the Tsar and the parties in the criminal case against businessman Alfred Woyome have filed written submissions at the Court of Appeal for and against his acquittal. Now, while the state is calling on the court to quash a High Court judgment which freed Alfred Woyome from any wrongdoing in the 51.2 million Ghana cedi scandal, counsel for Alfred Woyome is praying the court to dismiss the state's appeal. A 72-page submission filed by the prosecution is asking the Court of Appeal to curtail Woyome's freedom and imprison him accordingly on the grounds that the trial judge erred in law in acquitting and discharging the businessman of defrauding by false pretenses and causing financial loss to the state. My colleague Jahunyan has more on the 72-page address.
Well, they are basically saying that the court should disregard the state's appeal, that the ruling that was given by Justice Ajit Nassam should be maintained. And they are arguing that the fact that Woyome was called upon to open his defense, that is when the case first went to trial, Woyome was asked to open his defense, and then subsequently it was ruled that the state hadn't established a prima facie case against Woyome. And he's saying that that's Mr. Ken Stephen Anku, lawyer for Alfred Woyome, that the fact that Woyome was called upon to open his defense did not mean that the state has proved his guilt to warrant his conviction. It also saying that the trial court's position that Mrs. Maud Idris and other witnesses should have been called because they played roles leading up to the payment of the money of Woyome is not, should be maintained. Basically, it's sort of in response to the state's call that the previous judgment given by Justice Ajit Nassam should be overruled. Woyome lawyers are saying that everything that should have been done was done rightly, and therefore the case should be left as it is. He's saying that the prosecution cannot now be here to say that the decision of the learned judge on the point was wrong in law, because the prosecution failed to call material witnesses, and this failure in the circumstances must inure to the benefit of Alfred Woyome. So he's saying that in the first place the prosecution didn't do their job well, and therefore they have no right whatsoever to come back now and blame it on the judge. If they didn't do their job, it's not the fault of the judge that their job wasn't done well. Okay, and now what exactly is the state seeking now? Now they want Alfred Woyome imprisoned? Yes, they want him, as they put it, they want his freedom curtailed, and they want him imprisoned because they are saying the state did not fail to prove his court. They are either blaming it on the judge, as in the failure for this trial to go the way they wanted it to, for the failure to get a judgment in their favor. They are blaming it on the judge, which according to the state has also been, we all know this, has also been named in Anas's judicial scandal. Exactly. So they are using the judicial scandal to sort of cast smears on the judgment of Justice John Ajit Nassam, saying that he's proven to be somewhat of a shady character. Therefore, Anas's expose reveals the fact that he didn't actually make an independent and objective judgment.
Meanwhile, private legal practitioner lawyer Maurice Ampel believes the state is fighting a lost cause in this latest pursuit.
I think that some of us have cited the document, and I don't think that that's the proper way to go. A court of competent jurisdiction have tried, acquitted, and discharged an accused person. If you are not happy with it, what you do is to go appeal. But to file a process for his freedom to curtail, that's not the proper way. I think that the AG should not pull that legal line. Rather, the AG should proceed on and pursue his appeal. Woyome, before his trial, has been granted bail, and if he has been acquitted and discharged, and you are not happy with it, what you do is to appeal against the acquittal and discharge. And I don't see curtailing his fundamental human rights is the way going, and I don't see any court of competent jurisdiction granting that application.
So essentially what you're saying is that the state is just on a wild goose chase. Nothing is going to come of this.
Definitely, because you see, now Woyome is a free person subject to the appeal. So with the appeal, you cannot say that he should be re-arrested. This is not a retrial. This is an appeal. So before even he was tried at the court of first instance, he was a free person. He was on bail. So if you are going to appeal, he should be on his former bail, because this is not a matter that you have discharged him and then you are rearranging before a different court. is a matter that has been disposed of by a court of competent jurisdiction. Therefore, what you need to do is to pursue your appeal, and then if maybe you have any information that is about to leave the jurisdiction, then you can bring that one to the notice of the court that, subject to the appeal, the accused person or the suspect is taking steps to leave the jurisdiction. Then there is a way out where bench warrant or so whatever can be issued for him to show security.
Okay.
But for you to go and then prepare an application for his freedom to be curtailed is not the best.
All right. So, Mr. Ampa, let me ask. For instance, the state makes mention of certain key elements here. One of those elements is the fact that, well, some of their key witnesses were unable to testify during the main trial. Now, they also speak of Justice Jonajet Nassam, whom we've all come to know is part of a few people who were actually fingered in this Anas expose. I mean, if you're raising questions about the judgment of such a judge, is that not enough grounds for us to revisit some of the cases he's looked at, particularly such a controversial case like this one?
Oh, I think that it is good in the interest of justice that we reopen this case for an appeal. And I think every appeal is a re-hearing. So once you can leave evidence to show to the court that at the time of the trial, those evidence were not available because you could not get those evidence, the court is prepared to listen to you on appeal.
The headmaster of the Mfanspem School, Mr. John Kwame Nkoma Simpson, has called on government to revert to the old system of admitting students into senior high schools. Now this, he says, is to cut down on the numerous problems associated with the computerized school selection and placement system. Now he said the CSSPS has not been able to effectively and equitably distribute students into the various schools, thereby engendering many problems for parents and guardians of students in the past years. Mr. Simpson made a call at the 139th Speech and Prize Giving Day celebration of the Mfanspem School here in Cape Coast.
This year saw another rush for admissions. At the end of the day, we have a little over 1,000 boys admitted to the 7 dormitories. Parents who have schools like St. John's, St. Peter's, Preserve Legon, among others, came to their school for admission. They were kindly advised to return to their schools on the placement list. Mr. Chairman, I beg to advise that our system of admitting students be reversed. I plead that headmasters and headmistresses do their own selection to cut down on the problem of having to take on students with better grades after the list from CSSPS are sent to the schools. Students with 9 ones, 8 ones, 7 ones are sent to their second, third, and fourth choices. The immediate reaction is, why not my first choice? The rush to the first choice schools are now more than a headache, rather than comfort for parents of performing students. Those of weaker grades are rather put in their first choice schools. Mr. Chairman, I beg to state again that heads are allowed to do their own selection.
Let's get on the phone lines now and speak with Reverend Jonathan Bette, who is with the Public Relations Unit of the Ghana Education Service. He joins us live now. Mr. Bette, good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us. Now, to my very first question, now this is coming from someone on the ground. Would you at all consider this suggestion? Well, Mr. Bette's line seems to have dropped there. We will try and bring back Reverend Jonathan Bette, who is with the Public Relations Office of the Ghana Education Service. But away from that, we're still staying with education issues. The Vice Chancellor of the University of Education, Winneba, Professor Malto Avoke, is attributing the confidence industries have in the university's products to more innovative and competitive programs that the university is running. Now, according to the Vice Chancellor, programs pursued by the university are market-driven, which link the lecture rooms to the teaching fields and industries. The Vice Chancellor was speaking at the 20th congregation ceremony of the University of Education, Winneba. But before we bring you this particular story, let's go back to our earlier story and speak to Reverend Jonathan Bette, who is with the Public Relations Unit of the Ghana Education Service. Mr. Bette, good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us, sir.
Good afternoon.
So exactly, the first question I was asking was, this call is coming from someone who is on the ground, particularly. Is this a call you will at all consider?
Well, why not? If it concerns education, I have to consider it. I have to listen to the person.
So he is saying that we should scrap this computerized school selection placement system, essentially, because it is not serving the purpose for which it was even implemented. It was even brought into the picture in the first place.
Well, what I want to say is that the person has his personal right to say whatever pleases him. But the issue is a government policy as to how students should be placed. We were using the old system, and the old system was not favoring parents and any other system. They were not favoring the system. That is why government has brought in computerized system for this placement.
Which some of the head teachers are saying is not serving the purpose for which it was even brought into the system in the first place. For instance,
I'll be very happy to know the headmasters who are saying this. I don't believe that all the headmasters. That's what I earlier on said. They have their personal opinion. They can air whatever pleases them, but it is a policy that we are following. And for now, everything is on course. It was only this year that the hula balloons came about the placement. I don't want this. I wanted this, and we are making it sure that everything is being fixed. And for now, as I'm talking to you, there is nobody in our office with such a problem, which will drive the ministry or any department that we should see the use of the computerized system.
Okay, so Mr. Bette, let me be specific here. For instance, the headmaster of Infant Spim School makes mention of the fact that since this particular system was brought into fruition, his school, Infant Spim School, for instance, well, they do have a quota that they do allot to students and all. They are almost always overburdened with numbers. Is this not a genuine case? Because they come to you and they tell you that we have a capacity for 300 students, and then you give them about 1,000 students.
Listen, what happens is that we know the numerical strength, the enrollment of all schools. We have the statistics. Now, we have complained earlier on that this year we have re-entry forms, receipted form, more than the previous ones that we have done. And we all need to manage the system and make sure that the students or the candidates are placed at their various school of choices. Now we are using the system called raw score system. We earlier on explained how the raw score system also works. So if somebody was not able to get the first placement and second and third, by all means he will be placed at the fourth placement also. So this is where the students were placed, and then parents were not happy why their work should be placed at their fourth choice instead of first or second and third. This is what is bringing the challenge. Now, if a headmaster says that we have given them more than necessary, it is not more than necessary. They have given the quota that they demanded from the Ministry of Education, for that matter, GES. The quota, the number of candidates that they demanded, we get them out. And where will the rest also go? We have to add at least a fraction to all the schools to make up so that every child will be placed. And Director General of Ghana Education Service sat down with these headmasters, and they have agreed to accept whatever that will be coming to them.
But this
is still coming out from the headmasters after considering the plight of their Director General.
Reverend Bette, if I may chip in now. Now, these same people are complaining that the numbers you are bringing in is actually affecting the quality of education and even their infrastructure as well.
It will not. I doubt if it
they say it is.
The same teacher. No, how will it affect it? It is the same teacher who is teaching, and we know the classroom that we have. We know the number of students that will go to each classroom, and the same lesson that they are delivering. How will it affect it? I doubt that effect. It will not affect it.
I see. So you think
let us wait for the results to come, and then we take it from there.
So is it that his comments at this particular point in time are not something the ministry might...
What I want to say is that I'm disappointed. And I believe the Director General of Ghana Education Service will also be disappointed in the statement or the comment that the headmaster has made. And we shall investigate. We shall investigate and see how far this will take us.
Sure.
We shall investigate.
Many thanks for your time. Reverend Bette is with the Public Relations Unit of the Ghana Education Service. Now, the Vice Chancellor of the University of Education, Winneba, Professor Mauto Avoke, is attributing the confidence industries have in the university's products to more innovative and competitive programs that the university is currently running. Now, according to the Vice Chancellor, programs pursued by the university are market-driven, which link the lecture rooms to the teaching fields and industries. The Vice Chancellor was speaking at the 20th congregation ceremony of the University of Education, Winneba.
I'd like you to remember that the training you have received from this university will be incomplete and meaningless if you ignore the moral component of your training. Be mindful of those social vices which could ruin your future. As you step into the world of work or return to your various workplaces, always remember to aim at hard work by maintaining quality in all activities you are involved in or embark upon. I often hear people make statements which suggest that they differentiate between Ghanaian standards and global standards. I wish to say that there is nothing like Ghanaian standards. Always operate at your very best and achieve the best results for yourself, your organization, and the nation at large, taking into cognizance global quality measures which will be helpful to attain global standards in your work output. Proper time management will be beneficial to your career growth, progression, and success in life. I urge you to desist from practices which leave you with no or little time to embark on your scheduled activities for the day. Unhealthy conversations, poor planning are but few examples why many are unable to achieve their targets.
News Today returns right after these messages. Thanks for staying with us here on News Today. Now, the Deputy Chief Executive of the Ghana Highway Authority says essential documents belonging to his outfit's various departments and clients may be lost. Now, this follows a fire outbreak that affected 3 offices belonging to the Chief Executive Officer. The fire started in the early hours of Monday at the 4th floor of the Ghana Highway Authority. Though the cause is yet to be determined, the fire is said to have started from an air condition in the Chief Executive's office. It took the intervention of the Ghana Fire Service to bring the situation under control.
At 07:30 hours this morning, we received a call reporting an outbreak of fire here. And upon our arrival at 7:33, we realized the whole of the top floor was engulfed in smoke. And upon our assessing the place or getting access to the place, we realized it was one office that was involved in the fire. And so we had to do what we call breaking. Breaking simply means we had to use our implements to break to have access to the place. And that is what exactly happened. So within 15 minutes, we were able to bring the fire. 15 minutes, we were able to bring the fire under control. And completely extinguished within 30 minutes.
Okay, so but were there any casualties recorded?
There were no casualties recorded, neither on the side of workers here, because only a few of them had reported at the time, nor on the part of firemen.
Okay, so do we know exactly what might have sparked this fire?
We have a clue or a lead that we are following, but until we finish our investigation to confirm it or otherwise, will not be able to come out and say anything now.
Okay. Looking at the architecture, the building itself, what would you think it's something that is missing in there as you as a fire person?
What is missing is that because it's not a modern structure, modern fire detection and firefighting equipment are not on board. For instance, if it were to be a modern building, then you have fire defense systems such as automatic sprinklers that in such a situation it will trigger itself and fight the fire. But because this is an old structure, you don't have such modern equipment on board.
Okay. So moving forward, what would you advise that is taken into precaution?
What we can incorporate as at this point is to get what we call smoke detectors in place, so that in the event of any fire, these smoke detectors will trigger an alarm for everybody to hear that there is fire somewhere within the building.
Meanwhile, Deputy Chief Executive in charge of administration at the Ghana Highway Authority, Francis Hammond, says they are yet to quantify the loss.
As I speak now, the fire is totally out. They are still there, though. Their plan is to, we've put off the power in the block. Their plan is to wait a while, get some sensitive areas to dry, and then they'll put the power back, and then they'll check how far things have gone. When they are okay, they will isolate the place where the fire the affected. About 3 offices. About 3 offices. Yes.
So which offices have been started?
The Chief Executive's Registry.
The Chief Executive's
Registry. Yes. There are two in one office there. Chief Executive Office. That's where the thing started.
So the 3.
And the third office is the waiting room. Chief Executive's waiting room for the visitors. So those are the most affected places. No, by God's grace, there was nobody injured, no casualties, no facilities.
Do we know the extent of damage now?
Now we don't know. We don't know. Yeah, we don't know. When the fire service has declared the place safe, then they will try and determine the source or the cause of the fire. Although we know that it was the air conditioner who started it. But at least when they also confirm it, then we know. Then we go back to see the rooms that have been affected, how much is lost, and what can be regained. Luckily, it is not the Chief Executive Registry is not the place where we keep all our records. No, it is a holding place for documents that are coming into Ghana Highway Authority to the Chief Executive for his action, and then some of those that are coming out from his office for the
But it's not all the documents, but at least there is some documents that have been lost.
Yes. Obviously, some documents have been lost. Yes, so some documents have been lost. So we are now going to see which ones are lost, which ones are not. We have a system where the 17 or so divisions that we have in this block, they keep major sensitive records at the divisional level. So, as I mentioned, it's a holding place for documents coming in and those going out. So,
It's possible some of these documents are like
it is possible. It's possible. So we'll check and see which ones came in and which ones have been entered into the records and which ones are yet to receive action. If those books themselves are not lost, the records books themselves are not lost. But by and large, we think that the officers will bounce back to action when we are declared, when it's declared the place is safe.
Well, staff of the Ghana Highways Authority have since been evacuated from the building. To Parliament now, and the Finance Ministry is currently negotiating with the Electoral Commission on the budget for the 2016 elections. Head of Budget at the Ministry says the negotiation is aimed at avoiding budget overruns in the preparations and organization of the election. Parliamentary correspondent Elton Brobe joins us with more. So, Elton, what more does the negotiation involve?
Well, for now, the information is quite scanty, apart from what we were told during the presentation by the head of budget at the ministry, Patrick Newmore. Details as to how much the Electoral Commission is requesting is not known, but I'm sure that response will come in very soon. Because a few minutes ago, I asked him how much the Electoral Commission is requesting government pay for them to organize the 2016 election. So I'm sure that very soon he will respond to that particular issue. But he tells us that they are negotiating, meaning the Electoral Commission has presented to government how much it will cost the nation for the smooth organization of the 2016 elections. But they are still negotiating. They are still negotiating on this particular issue. He himself confirms that indeed this will be one of the major statutory payments government will have to undertake in 2016. But to avoid the issue, to avoid the tendency where ministries and government agencies overspend beyond what is approved for them in the 2016 budget, the finance minister has also been responding to that particular issue, and he's told the gathering that government has a monitoring team in place, indeed, under the 2016 budget, and expenditures that will be approved would ensure that they reflect national priority. And issues like awarding of contracts in an election year, these are issues that government will monitor strictly according to the finance minister, they are now implementing what he describes as the electronic system, which will limit how much government agencies can spend, especially next year being an election year, to ensure that government program with the IMF, the 3-year credit facility program with the IMF, is strictly implemented to ensure that budget overruns are avoided in the long run.
Many thanks for that update, Elton Broadway, joining us live from Parliament. And we're taking a break here on News Today. We'll be back with some business stories. Don't go away. Concerned workers of the Volta Star Textiles Limited are petitioning the President and the Trade Ministry to ensure that their outstanding salaries are paid. In the petition, that the concerned workers noted that due to incompetency, the company may fold up soon if collective measures are not put in place by government to arrest the dwindling fortunes of the textile manufacturing company. Now, one of the leaders read excerpts of the petition to Joy News.
And aside that, we, the workers of VSTL, have seen our management is corrupt, incompetent, and very bribery. To testify, 75% of them are pensioners. And when you consider the salary level of workers, I, for one, sitting here, Bruni Lordwin Selom, I am a permanent worker, but my basic salary is 194 Ghana cedis. As compared to the pensioners as management, whose salary ranging from 1,700 Ghana cedis to 3,500 Ghana cedis. So in this, we the workers have seen the management is corrupt, very bribery and incompetent. So we are calling on the government. If the company is in his hands, he should come to our aid and say he is clearing our outstanding debts, or he is closing down the factory, or he will be able to continue with the factory so that everyone goes to where he can go. Here is the case. When the month ends, they tell us they are going in for chemicals, they are going to pay ECG bills. Although ministers, MPs, DCEs, our traditional leaders came to our aids with so many lies, promises that it will be okay. Next week they will pay us, said by Honorable Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa, the Member of Parliament of North Town. So to conclude it all, please, once again, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, we are dying, the workers of Volta Star Textiles Limited. The company is the eye of Volta, proud of North Town.
The Deputy Group Managing Director of Kushares Group says businesses, big or small, need effective board of directors to be successful in the long term. Oke Nwoke explains how different the structure of the governing board should be from the management team.
I think one of the ways to do that is for every board to have its own target in terms of setting clearly this is what we plan to achieve for the company, so that we can begin to check whether the board is adding value. If they're not adding value, the shareholders will know. You told us you're going to do this. You told us in 5 years we will get here. You told us this is what we'll see. We are not seeing it. So the board members will know and be under pressure that they're not achieving the objective they communicated. Because when you set the board target, you communicate it. You know, at annual general meetings, in the public financials, that agenda is set. And then once there's a measure, you know, the boss and the directors will be under pressure to know that people are watching, the owners are watching, the shareholders are watching, the community is watching. And then I think those are some of the ways to ensure that the board members work. And the truth is, again, from the way you structure the board, if you structure the board in such a way that it makes it difficult to function, then of course it will not function. So that's why we look for, in terms of diversity, in terms of, you know, experience, in terms of, some people talk about gender, you know, we find out that in boards where you have only men, is that sometimes people just talk in one direction. Put one lady there, changing the direction and perspective. So gender equally is an important issue when you're talking about structure and composition of a board.
The director for the Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research of the University of Ghana, Professor Felix Asante, is warning a debt crisis looms if critical corrective measures such as cutting down on wasteful expenditure and working within budget are not put in place. Reacting to the 2016 budget statement on Joy News Prime, Professor Asante says government must focus more on correcting the imbalance between spending and revenues.
We should be thinking more into the future than just only addressing issues in 2016.
Prof, now 2016 is an election year. Are you assured, after listening to what the finance minister said, are you assured that the demands of an election year will not pressurize the government to overspend?
Changing what happened in the current year, then based on that, give an outlook. Okay, so that's been the trend for some years now. Not only this current government, but it's been a trend for some years, yes.
And what would you have expected?
I was expecting, I mean, with the type of crisis we've been in this year, trying to come up with some strategic plans into the future, especially when we decided to go in for a 40-year development plan. It's true it's not in, but like issues of power, I wanted to see a little more plans other than what is going to happen in 2016. Okay. And those are some of my the things I didn't see in the budget stated. It's all focused on only 2016, what is being done now and being rolled into 2016, which I thought is more of a short-term look at it. We'll be raising the concern, government keeping within its spending within its revenue. I didn't see much in the budget statement about broadening the tax net. And so we are going to have spending problems. That's what I foresee, because we are not able to raise that enough revenue. Okay, I mean the whole thing is raising that enough revenue to meet our expenditures. Okay, and
so are you calling for more taxes?
We need a proper pragmatic approach in raising the tax basket in the economy.
Well, that'll be it for business here on News Today. Time now to check out the very latest in the world of sports with Baba Tando. So that's it for News Today here on Joy News Multi TV. My name is Kwabna Chenchen. For more news, do well to log on to myjoyonline.com. Have a good afternoon.